Okay guys, this is going to be as quick as I can make it, just following up from assignment number 1 from week 1 of NTI. So we're going to start off with talking about the comments on any returned work. So we posted this on Google Classroom as well. So I just wanted to give you some screenshots to show you what we're talking about. So if you're on your computer screen, you're going to look at this one right here, okay? If you're zoomed all the way out, you'll see these text boxes, and over here, you'll see what we've been commenting on specifics for your assignment. If you have more than one attachment, you'll have to open it, both of those, to see the comments, okay? So if you are using a phone instead of your computer, which is fine, you have a couple extra steps to be able to see those personal comments, okay? So you're going to click this box with the arrow once you open the attachment. Once again, if you have more than one attachment, you'll have to do this for each of those. Some of you will have comments, some of you will not, but every time you need to check to see if you have comments to be able to correct your answers, okay? And then after you click the box with the arrow, it will open up your assignment in the Google Drive app, and you'll see this right here. That's the message or private comments box for your work, okay? So once you open that, it's going to pull up your assignment, and at the bottom, it will show you any comments that were made by your teacher. Okay, this might be helpful for other classes too, guys, so let me know if you have more questions on that. Second thing is make sure you're following our directions, okay? We're doing videos so that we can give you guidance on exactly how we want your answers to look, how we want you to go about doing the problems. So make sure you're watching the videos, taking notes, and then when you do the assignments, make sure you're following the same exact way, okay? Now, the reason is because when you do your progression grades, which will be through Delta Math, it's very specific in how you enter your answer. So I'm actually at the end of this video going to show you how to do that. Okay. So some common mistakes from assignment 1, which was solving or finding an inverse function. Okay. So the first one, when you take a square root, you need to make sure you take the plus and minus. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and go through number 11 from assignment number 1. So the first step is to replace f of x with y. And then switch your variables. Okay, now you're just going to solve for y. So I need to add 7 to both sides. The opposite of squaring something is to take the square root. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. When I do that, a lot of you all were forgetting that now I have a plus minus on the x plus 7. And on the right hand side, I'm left with y minus 2. What's the opposite of subtracting 2? You would need to add 2. When you add 2, go ahead and just put that in the front of the plus or minus sign. And then your last step, notation-wise, is to replace your y with the inverse of f of x, which is denoted with this, okay? So if you went a step further and found the output, that's what the book asked you to do, but we asked you to just find the inverse, which is what Mr. Savato did in the video number 1. Okay. Second misconception. Instead of dividing by fraction, we want you all to multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, that makes more sense, and it's a little bit easier to simplify. When you multiply both sides, make sure you multiply the entire side, okay, using the distributive property. So let's do this problem together. So the first thing I'm going to do, replace g of x with y, switch my variables, oops, that should be a y. And then I'm going to solve for y. So subtract 6. Now, I have a fraction. A lot of you all were doing this divide by -3/5 on both sides. That's not incorrect, but that's way harder to simplify. So actually what I want to do, or what I want you all to try to do, is multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so now -3/5 times -5/3 cancels to be a 1. What I do to one side, I do to the other. You also need to put parentheses if there's more than one term. Okay, you got to use the distributive property. So now I'm left with -5/3 x. Okay, this is a negative times a negative now. So I have plus, okay, -5 times -6 is 30. And then make sure you don't forget that divide by 3. So I still have one more step to simplify. This right here simplifies to +10. And then we can go ahead and change our y to the inverse of x. And that should actually be a g. Okay, so right here, this is your final answer. That's what you should have checked as your final answer for assignment number 1. Okay, last common misconception we found across Algebra 2 was that you guys are not putting them in slope-intercept form. I'm not sure if you're checking the back of the book for your answer, but when you do your quiz next week for week 2, you're going to have it in slope-intercept form. Okay, so make sure when you check your answers next week that you're changing that in your answers. Okay, so this was number 19 specifically number 19 from assignment number 1. I actually picked a different problem to do. So let's go ahead and do this one together. So I'm going to change f of x to y. I'm going to switch x and y. And then I'm going to solve. So subtract 4 from both sides. Divide by 2. Now, a lot of you all stopped here. This is not incorrect, but we want it in slope-intercept form. So that means I need, if you remember, y equals mx plus b. M is your slope, b is your y-intercept. So I need to simplify it so I can see my m and my b. So the 2 goes into both the x and that -4. Okay, so now I have y equals 1/2 x, or x divided by 2, and then -4 over 2 is -2. And then you just need to replace that with the inverse of f, and you're good to go. Also, please do not use decimals here. Use fractions, simplified fractions, please. All right, now, delta math. So I posted the directions to sign up for delta math. If you want to go ahead and get the ball rolling, you do have a quiz next week on there. So it does tell you to use slope-intercept form. So I'm going to go ahead and show you delta math. So I'm already signed in. If you recall, this is the problem we just solved in example 3 of this video. So I'm going to show you what happens if you accidentally type in the answer choice before putting it in slope-intercept form. So that was x plus 4 divided by -2. So you're going to hit this little keyboard right here. It'll bring up all of your buttons that you'll need. So if I type in x plus 4 divided by -2. If you're using your computer, you can use the keyboard or you can use this screen. Okay, I'm going to hit submit answer. I'm going to hit yes, I want to submit it. And it's going to tell me it's wrong. Okay, here's why it's wrong. It said write it in slope-intercept form. Because I didn't divide that -2 out, okay, in the bottom here like we did in our notes right here, it counted it wrong. So we just want you guys to be really careful about doing that. Now, let me show you if I actually type it in correctly. So I'm actually going to use my keyboard for this. So we had -1/2 hold on, guys. All right, we have -1/2. I'm still getting used to this format as well. X minus 2. I'm going to hit submit answer. Yes. And now it is correct. Okay. So be careful. Make sure you're putting them all into slope-intercept form. And that's all for today, guys. Hopefully this helped. Let me know. And have a good day, morning, night, whatever. See ya.